So, today we are back with another episode, but we're going to be talking about the pressure of social media. How do you deal with it? My personal struggle, your personal struggle, Mr. Ben James Kelly.
Yep. We're back, myself and Emile. And for anyone who's listening on podcasts format, just consider yourself lucky because Emile is wearing a shirt today that is very outrageous.
It is.
And
absolutely.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, it could either be a blessing that they see it or not. Depends. Actually, kind of like a throwback to Fresh Prince a little bit.
It does feel Fresh Princey, and I'm a big fan of Will Smith, so
yeah.
I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, but we're not back in the, we're not in the 90s.
But this is what this is about, the pressure of social media and trying to always show up like we have to. So
I'm trying to make an example of me already.
In this episode, we're going to actually talk about that, about shaming, about selfies, men versus women. Why is it acceptable for women to do selfies and why is it not acceptable for men? Or why do we judge men, even though Ben does them?
I know, well,
he does a couple of selfies.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I do it every now and again. Yeah, we're going to talk about other stuff. Self-discrepancy, social media, comparison, maybe a little bit about comparison, intentions, maybe some of our own rules of thumb as to how we post and what and when and how we engage in social media and even with other people.
And the dopamine hit that we receive when we get a like, the addictions that we have with social media, because it can be addictive.
Oh, for sure. Maybe just how to deal with some criticisms. Maybe. I think some people really have a hard time with the opinions of other people, especially when it comes to, and everyone's got one on social media especially, right? It's very easy. Very easy to have an opinion on
And the main reason why we wanted to do this episode, the gap. How do you show up in real life and how people experience you versus how do you show up on social media? So...
And another big one, and this is one of the other ones that I hear a lot is like social media ruins relationships, and we might touch a little bit on that one because that's obviously a big one that shows up for a lot of people. So, but yeah, I mean, social media has just blown up over the last 15 odd years or something like that. It's really changed the landscape of how people live and how they engage with each other. So we figured we'd go into a topic like this. So where do you think we should begin? Where should we begin? We've got a whiteboard.
I think we should start with us. I think how we both handle pressure of social media. What are our rules of thumb? How long do you spend on social media a day?
Well, I mean, that's the tricky thing as well. Probably more than maybe I should, if I'm being transparent. I've got a cap of 2 hours.
Is that on your Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram and on Facebook. That's the thing is like my business is pretty much run through my phone, and I can use that as validation to be on it probably a little bit longer than what I should be. Right? Yeah. Am I as effective on it as I should be? No, that's something that I definitely need to get an improvement on. And I can see the addictive behavior of it. It's like it becomes automated. Right? You just go to reach for your phone. If your phone's out of distance, you're going for it even though it's not there. It's just like on a loop. It just like becomes automated thing that you're doing. It's like, okay, I'm doing nothing. I may as well just go to my phone. Just sitting there becomes like such an odd thing to do. It's like, well, I may as well be on my phone. But yeah, I try to drop it down. Again, most of my stuff is in like groups or in messages. I spend a lot of time in messages on social media, and then it's just like, again, do I then go and do my messaging and have it blocked out? It's like, no. So I'm definitely not going to be dishing out any lessons on effectiveness because that's one thing I'm trying to improve on. But what about you? You've got a cap?
I have a cap of 45 minutes. Do I follow it? Some days I do, some days I don't. I think with me in social media, I go in and out. Like I used to have a rule like don't touch your phone straight up. I go in and out of that in the morning. It's the hardest thing to do because sometimes we all use our phone as an alarm. So now I turn my phone off and I use my iPad. But it's still...
Yeah. We have one of our other friends has like an old school clock.
Yeah.
Like an old school alarm, you know, ones where like you had when you were young.
Yeah.
One of those. Keeps their phone charging away from them somewhere else.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I think they should bring back the alarm clock, because it really is one of those things where it's like the first thing you want to do is you want to check who messaged you, who commented, did somebody write to me or DM me?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the dopamine hit. And this is the dangerous thing, right? Because so many of us will be so fixated on that even when we're out, you know, we literally are on our phones still. Like, and I think somebody called us out in South Africa. I was in South Africa and we were all being present. We were all having dinner, 4 of us. It was like me, Joel, Adam Roa, and another speaker. And we were all being present. And just for that split second, for a moment, we literally were like, I've just got to check something. And then as soon as I check something,
everyone got permission to be able to do it.
And then Joel checked something. And then all of a sudden, only literally for that 2 minutes, the 4 of us were on at the same time replying to something. And then the table next to us literally was like, it was an English couple. They were like, off your phone, guys. And we were literally like, we just got on it. Like, we were being present the whole time. And it's a slap in the face to go, how many of us are present and how many of us are constantly on our phones? And especially like I've had this with my partner, my ex-partner. You're always on your phone. You're never being present, you know? And, you know, this is one of those things where it's like, are we getting more of a fix of an illusion of what we watch versus actually being present with the people that are in front of us?
Yeah, mine are just a knee-jerk reaction now. So we just sat there and it's just like, I'll just go, and it's like, and again, I have to catch myself. And like, I've asked my partner, Paola, to go, are you doing anything? Like, I've given her permission to go and actually say that. Because again, I'm like, I'm unconsciously ungoverned. It might take a couple of minutes for me to realize what I'm doing. So I've been able to give her permission to go, hey, is what you're doing important? I can go, you know, and actually it's pressing. Or I can go, you know what? It's actually not. But we've created that stance where I've given her permission to be able to do that. Where she's not like, I'm just having to go. Right? We've had to work out how we communicate around that. Because I did at one point used to get triggered. And I used to say, so it's like, well, you know what? How do you expect me to be able to live out here? You know, I need to run a business. I've got to be, you know? And it's like, but that's sort of how but then the further on our relationship got, we realized that a lot of the time I wasn't actually being super effective. And it's like, so I gave her permission to go, like, is what you're doing? Actually, no. Just a knee-jerk, you're right, 100%. And I've given her permission to be able to go and do that, you know?
What's the deal with, this is an interesting question. I didn't even actually think I was going to say this, but what's the deal with like liking? Are you allowed to like other women's pictures? Is she allowed to like other men's pictures? Do we get jealous by that? What is okay, what is not okay?
They used to have that feature where you could see what people you're following like the stuff, and I got hit up. I was dating a girl back in the day, you know, years ago, way before Pal, years and years and years, and she'd hit me up, and I didn't even look at that feature myself. I never even gave it a thought, and she'd hit me up and say, oh, but you liking all these? I go, how do you know that? I go, because I checked the thing and I'm like, okay. And then that feature got taken away.
I love that it's taken away.
Hey?
I love that it's gone.
Well, because I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people give more weight to a like than what, you know, they, like even when you get one, I got a like. It's like, it's literally like that. Yeah. And we give so much relevancy to it. It took no effort and actually means extremely little on when we get them, and also when we dish them out. It's like, oh, I like this person's thing. That's going to say, oh, I've got an interest. Yeah. And it's like, no, literally, they probably went and read it. Oh, I liked what you wrote. It was as simple as that. But we reached so much into it. But yeah, it depends on how much you trust your partner, obviously.
Well, that's what it comes down to.
My girl can like whatever she wants.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're looking for something, if you have, maybe it's an insecurity, maybe it's a fear like of abandonment, maybe it's you don't trust your partner, you're going to look for it. You'll go snooping and you'll look for it and make every single little thing mean that see, they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
But it's a two-way street. It's like if you're having to do that in the first place, is this the right relationship for you?
Exactly.
Like, really, that's a question to ask yourself.
Yeah, just bring it to the forefront. That's just an aspect of what brings it to the forefront. If you bring insecurity to the forefront, they already existed. Whatever triggered it, is less important than what was underlying and what was there before it even happened, right? So, I don't keep tabs on what Pal is like, and I don't care. Like, I trust her. That's what trust is. It's like, right? But we hear all the time, social media has fucked relationships. Is that something? Do you hear that?
I've heard that. I mean, the thing is, it's led a trail to you being unfaithful, because it's like people have found out, like, there's always a trail. This is what's crazy. What do they say, that women make the best detectives? Have you heard that saying?
Oh yeah,
because they literally can trace back, like, I mean, so can guys. Guys can look for it and be like, well, you like this person. That's like, things have been found out because of social media. You started following this person. This happened. It's like, it's no joke. It's changed the way we show up on a consistent basis. It changes the way we show up and present ourselves in real life. And when you think about it, how many of us, and I struggle with this, right? Like, this is the gap I'm trying to close, is how do I show up in real life versus how do I show up on social media? Because I'm an emotional intelligence coach, right? So I talk about facts and this and that, but man, you know me, Ben. Like, my girlfriend knows me as I'm a goofball. Like, I can joke, I talk shit. I'm not always like blah 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 blah. The emotional intelligence will affect your mind and this and that. Like, that's not how I am. I like to have fun, and I'm kind of bridging the gap now. But I had to make a conscious choice, and I had to be aware that I was doing it. And it only occurred to me one year. It was last year, actually, when I was running an Elevate event, and I was speaking, and we had a lot of big speakers and coaches there that had really big followings, and I had the least amount of followers, and I was getting feedback on a consistent basis. Oh my God, Emile, you show up so differently when you're speaking versus on social media. And they were like, we want you to speak more and this and that. And it just occurred to me, I was like, holy shit, that's the side that I'm not allowing to be seen on social media. And that was a subconscious pattern of, like, me wanting to get the acceptance or the approval. I should do it like this, otherwise I won't get the acceptance or the approval, or it won't fly very well. I don't want to piss people off. I want to be liked, right? And I had to constantly battle with that and go, okay. And still to this day, I have to ask myself, I'm like, am I doing this because I want to put it out there? Or am I doing this to be liked? Am I doing this because it sounds good? And I have to question. And even with some of my stories, like, I've record something and I'll be like, oh, should I put that out there? And I have to go, do I want to put that out there? Is this part of me? And I think that's a great question for everybody to ask. Is this part of me? Is this part of my values? And if it is, and I put it out there, then who cares? But we think of people, and this is one thing that we do, and I do, and I know it because I analyze it. I go, ooh, how would that person see that? And that's a great way to check in and go, who are you worrying about? Like, whose opinions are you worried about? Check into that. Go deeper with yourself with that. If this person doesn't approve of you, how will you feel about yourself? Because I think so many of us do. We put things out online just to get the approval or the acceptance. But it's not a true indication of who we really are. And that's where the loneliness happens. That's where the gap happens. Like, there's a big gap where it's like, I'm putting stuff out there and it looks good, but I'm actually fucking lonely because I haven't really embraced who I really am. And I'm not really showing people who I really am.
Yeah, so you're someone that goes, like, occasionally goes weeks without posting anything.
Yeah.
Obviously got more pressing things to do, right?
Yeah. So I go in and out. Sometimes I'm consistent, sometimes I'm not. Right now I'm kind of in the middle of, like, creating new systems because I'm doing new videos like this and creating a plan for it. But honestly, like, I have so much work going on right now that I'm like, I can't be bothered. It takes up so much time sometimes for me. So if it's taking up time and it's taking me away from, like, what my vision is, then social media to me it's not a big part for me. I still like to put, the odd story on because it can be quick, put it on, done. But if I have to sit there for a post and be like, write a post and do this and do that, and I'm like, cool, but it's not what floats my boat all the time.
No, you're talking about like who you're trying to impress and everything like that, or who you're doing this for. I do think a lot of people get caught up on focusing more on people who know them only by reputation through their social media, as opposed to the character of which the people closest to them know them for. Yeah. Right? And it's like, all these people that know you by reputation, they're not going to be speaking at your funeral. The people who know you by character will be. Right? And I think that's the kind of the way that I view social media. It's like, I'm more concerned of the character of which people around me who are close to me know, more than pandering to the reputation that a whole bunch of people who see 2 to 5% of what I am on social media. You know what I mean? And there's a saying, it's like, the more you know someone, the more harder it is to follow them on social media. And I think that's kind of like, because some people know people and it's like the way that they show up, there's a massive discrepancy, right?
There's a gap.
There's a massive gap. And I think, talking about before with, and this is a big reason as to like why I'm trying to do more video and podcasts and whatnot, is because I think you're similar to me. Like we like to write, and you post stuff. Like if it doesn't feel right, I ask, what's the intention? Do you feel obliged that you have to post right now? Yeah. Are you posting because you're just like, oh, it's been weeks or a week that you haven't? Are you just posting because you want to say something as opposed to having something actually to say? And being able to bridge that gap of people feeling like they know me a little bit more than just sort of a curated post all the time, right? So was that a big thing of like wanting to do more of like getting out on video as well, having that be an outlet that you're choosing more? So is that sort of like, obviously because you feel like you can provide more value in that sense, but also because you feel like people are going to get more of a sense of who you are as opposed to like simply through photos? Exactly
that. I feel like when we're having conversations, it's not like I'm now going to do a motivational video. I'm now going to speak about into this and that. Like, I feel like when we're having conversations, it's just like we're just expressing what's coming up for us. And it's a practice. I think it's a practice of learning how to allow those parts of you to be seen and not try and cover it and be ashamed about it. And, we poke fun at ourselves. Like, how many times I'm like, oh, that'd be a funny topic to talk about. And I'm like, now we've set the space up to do it, because it's like, sometimes that's what needs to be put out there. Not much people are talking about it. Like, we talk about the facts. Everybody knows that there's addictions with social media, but remember when we first talked about this topic, we were like, well, there's so many things. There's such a massive gap. Yeah. The authenticity, and then feeling like, if I put this out there, I'm going to be seen. And which is actually our next topic. Like, what does it mean to be seen? Like, really seen? Because everybody can put out their best selves and it looks good. It looks awesome. This is the dangerous part about social media, is that we watch and we compare, and you've heard that saying that, comparison is a thief of joy. And it is. We get this FOMO where we look at someone else and we look at their lives, and then we compare and we look back at our lives and we go, oh my God, that person has the happiest life. That person has traveled all over the world. These social media couples, where they're holding their hands, where they're getting pulled, right? And sometimes it's just your friend pulling your hand. These
elaborate set up picnics with all these fairy lights on top of a volcano.
Looks amazing. And this is the pressure also that we put on our relationships, because we're looking outside and comparing and going, how come we don't do that? Or how come we don't do that? And I think everybody has to have their own rules for how they show up in a relationship, because it can be dangerous. The Notebook fucked up so many couples. Think about it.
Oh, media fucked up. Media. I think the way that media has portrayed through songs, through movies, they've completely fucked up how people, the reality around relationships.
But the Notebook especially, think about it. The dude wrote 150 letters.
Oh, yeah.
He swam across a lake of swans. Really?
Did you?
Yeah. We should bring it up.
Well, this is the thing. It's like, that's the thing about media and like with all the songs and stuff and how people, it's like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
And then they have this ideology around what that looks like and feels like. And then it's like, they think that the couples or the songs or the things is like, oh, that's how it should be. And when it's anything other than that, oh, this is fucked. And I think like romance and how it's being shown on social media has completely ruined true romance. It's actually completely destroyed
like,
it.
how much is too much? Like when we think about it, and this is just a question for everybody that's listening or watching. How much is too much? Do I constantly go out for dinners with my partner and make sure I'm taking a picture of her? Am I videoing and putting her in every story? What if I don't want to show my own? Like, so
do you mean like people like? Sometimes you'll see like a dude and he doesn't want to tag his girl because he doesn't want like no one going to a profile or whatever. This will go on forever.
There could be so many things. Like there's one side of like the guy goes, I don't want people to know who my girlfriend is or go to her profile. There's the other side of I'm ashamed of my partner and I don't want to show that. And then there's the other side of, and then there's another side where it's just like, it's just not how I like to keep my partnership to myself, which is what my relationship's like.
Yeah. Depends on the reason behind it, obviously.
But then that's a hit in itself. That's a dopamine hit. Oh my God, they posted of me. How come they haven't posted me in like 3 weeks? Is there something wrong?
We've got a friend that had we've got a friend who we won't talk too much about it, but his girlfriend got on his case about forcing him to post nice stuff about her on social media, and got really hard on him when he didn't. Like, he had other important stuff to do and really drove it home that you need to write
nice things about me. Tell the people how much you love me.
Didn't she write? She wrote out basically what to write and choose this photo and post it up.
Yeah, it was pretty.
And
that's the unhealthy part. That's the part of like control, right? And even as I was saying it, your eyes were like,
oh, it ticked over. I was like, where have I heard this before?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we found that quite. That relationship obviously didn't last a hell of a lot longer beyond that.
Definitely fizzled out fast.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like this, the whole thing of being seen and going, can I acknowledge my partner without having to show it to the world? Does that make it any less? Right? Does it have to be out there? And even when we put ourselves out there, can I be seen? And when I'm being seen, like, what does it mean to be seen? Because ultimately we all want to be seen, heard, approved of, loved. Like, we all want to be loved. But so many of us only want to put out the good side. And this is the problem. The positive side, the side that always looks good, the side that's always having a great time. And this is where, like, we talk about toxic positivity is like, let's just put out a quote every single time. Let's just put out everything that's going well, but we're actually sitting at home and we're like, we're lonely and we're in depression and because we're comparing to people that are constantly putting out only the good side. And now we've heard it so many times, but it is an actual problem when we don't speak about real shit, real things that are coming out for us. The pressures, especially right now with what's happening right now in the world.
I think that comes with exposure to enough humans to get a gauge, and to people who are living. Like, I know for me, like, I don't need anyone to show me their hardships or pitfalls for me to know for me to know that they have them. Right? Like, I know if you're human, I know that. I've got enough examples of having met people, know human behavior to a certain extent. Like, for me personally, I don't need you to show me any of your hardships for me to know that you have them. If you want to post up all the positive stuff, I don't care. Like, I personally don't care. But I think that's kind of like the good thing about living in Bali as well, is that we do come across so many people who live these lives, and you meet them in real life, and it's not even remotely close to being the case. And when you build up enough experience of that, you do really postpone your viewpoints beyond the surface level of what you see on social media, and, you know, take it with a grain of salt unless you actually really spend a good quality chunk of time with someone, right? So I know for me personally, that's not a big thing, but for a lot of people, they do get into this comparison mode, you know, around like, these people traveling this and doing that. I mean, often at times they didn't know what was required to even get to that point. They didn't see the struggle to get there. I think it just kind of was a luck thing a lot of the time. Sometimes it is a luck thing.
And it's,
right?
And it's also there's so many things on social media right now. Like, let's talk about Instagram. There's filters. There's filters beyond filters. There's presets that you can buy now. I'm seeing a lot more come out of, which I'm like, still like, what do you mean? Buy this and buy this preset, right? And how much is dangerous, because, you know, we talk about selfies and we talk about like, there's selfie apps that you can actually apparently like make your cheekbones come out, and there's things that make your lips bigger. There's things that will change your eye color. Like, how much is too much? Yeah. And the effects it can have on the brain to go, I don't like this about myself. I'm rejecting this part about myself. And I only like it when it like looks like this and it has this filter and it's perfect, which is dangerous.
Well, just discretion. Like I like editing photos. Like I like that's kind of like a little bit of a creative outlet for me. Like I'm quite masculine a lot of the time in my work. The way that you succeed is being able to follow systems and structures well and being simplified. It doesn't provoke a hell of a lot of creativity. Maybe in some of the marketing it can. But as far as, I guess, lighting and color, that's the extent of which I go. Yeah. So I think you're talking about like people altering their body shape and altering their face and all those sorts of things.
And it happens all the time. Like, I was a model before that, dude, and before social media was even out. Like,
you didn't have to, because you're just super symmetrical as it was, right? So,
dude, I had a photographer Photoshop my chest, and I looked at it like, does my chest look bigger in this picture? And that was 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you would notice little things, but not like to the extent. And then now it's getting to the point where it's like it's 10 times even more. Everybody can do it. And it was even bad in the modeling game, because models were like, that's not my body. My hips weren't that wide. My waist wasn't that small, you know? So it can be dangerous when it's constantly put out there on a consistent basis. You have to look like this. And I think what we really got to get connected to is going, okay, how can I embrace that part of me and own it? And I know it's easier said than done, but it's like the comparison, check in, what am I comparing for? What am I looking to find? Because if you feel better about what you're comparing about, then you're going to feel superior. But if you're not, if you're feeling not as good about yourself and you look online, you see maybe it's a girl with a better body than you, or a guy that's got more muscles, then you're going to feel inferior. And then that's when you go into your shit. Oh, I've got to work out, I've got to do this, got to do that. Like I caught the other day, I was looking at this, I looked on social media and I saw this dude that was working out, and I follow him because he has really good weight routines.
He provides value.
Yeah, and he shows you proper things. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, I want to get that muscle bigger and this and that. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, man, you're not that bad. But it's funny how I can.
Well, yeah, there's a fine line between being inspired, but like being inspired and having someone like motivate you to go and up level an aspect of your life. And I mean, this is the contrast is like, there's a lot of people, and like, I catch myself thinking in my head, what's the point of you? Like I hear myself say that, like, and again, like judgmental or whatnot, you know, someone that's just like, it's just attractive. Like, it's like I don't get what, like the value. There's no value. I don't feel like I know, I don't get any value. This is not improving my life, whatever. Right. It was just, and like with some of the guys, I was just like throwaway quotes, nothing. It's like, okay, all well and good, but like, I don't get where there's any value of it. Right. But again, like, I think as well, it's like clear expectations sort of thing. I think viewing that stuff, if you've got accurate and clear expectations, it lightens it a little bit. Like if you expected like a good chunk of people, that's not what they actually look like. It doesn't affect you as much. I think it's when people they don't have accurate expectations or understanding around the reality of things. Does it affect them? Right? Like I can look at a lot of guys and they can be in better shape than me. And for a good part, I know that a lot of them are on steroids, and that's completely fine. It doesn't throw me out. It's like, well, you know what? If I cared that much about that, then maybe I'd go down that route, but my value systems are somewhere else. So I'm not all that bothered. My comparison I'm not all that self-depreciating because I feel great, I feel amazing, and my values lie somewhere else. But I know. Whereas there was a point in time where I look at these guys and go, all I need to do is do their same thing, their same program, and I'd end up looking the same as them. And when I didn't, I'd be like, well, I'm not doing it hard enough, I'm not training hard enough, all these sorts of things. Well, one thing was left out and I just wasn't aware of it. It's like, oh, they were doing stuff that I'm not doing that's allowed them to look that way, and I'm wondering why the fuck I don't. Yeah. And then I realized, well, missed a pretty important sort of aspect out of how you arrived at that body shape. And it was not in the way that I was going to be able to, because I lacked that knowledge. And once I realized that, did I start to actually go, I didn't choose to go and take the same route. I was just like, look, you can't compare yourself, because my expectations were at least accurate. And then it became healthy, me not looking like anyone else or feeling like anyone else or whatever. Right. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just like people's expectations fuck them up. It's one thing for people to be doing it, and it's another thing for how people view the people doing it. Right. And this is obviously a big thing.
The judgment.
With women, the comparison, the judgment. But I think there is a big, like there's discrepancy, self-discrepancy with how we want people to see us, or how we want to view ourselves, and how we want other people to see us, and how we think we ought to be seen. And that's the thing about social media, is it allows people to create this alternate universe where they get to dictate how they'd like to view themselves and how they'd like to be seen. Yeah. And we do come across it. I've met people in real life and they've got social media skills but no social skills in real life, because their whole value is hitched up on the social media aspect, and they've dropped off when it comes to their value isn't in what happens in real life.
Well, it's also maybe you've got a fear of actually learning how to socialize in real life. Maybe you don't have the skills to actually connect the EQ, the emotional
and that
intelligence.
Becomes a crux. Social media becomes a crux.
Stuff that I'll just be online because I know I can get that hit online. I know I can. I've met guys that have hundreds of thousands, million followers, and they come and talk to you in real life, and they don't know how to connect properly.
We come across it all the time in Bali, all the time. Yeah. And it's very interesting, like how you see people online, confident, this, that, and the other. You meet them in person, sheepish, right? Because now I can't curate this. You can't curate real life as much as you can on social media, right? So you mean it's like now it's a fear because now I'm not safe. You get to get a real perspective because I can't control and dictate this situation as much as I can online, right? And it's again, it's all. Then you were mentioning, we meet people with like large amounts of accounts, and I think also that people confuse this. I need to do this way so I can become big. Becoming big will improve my lifestyle.
Or becoming big or getting more followers, maybe I'm going to get more money.
This equals this, which equals this, which equals this.
It totally doesn't.
And doesn't.
Yeah.
And we know this because, and again, this is what we're hoping that, through, talking more about this stuff, that people get to see what we see, and why sort of I think our mental health around social media is all right. Is not too bad. And it's like, I think, and again, like people do confuse being big for meaning that whether that will improve my lifestyle. It's like, no, being actually great at what you do and providing value is ultimately what, if you become big as a byproduct of that, cool. But like, I think for me, it would be my worst nightmare to become big and huge and have it been built on a house of cards of just trying to become big for the sake of becoming big and not actually getting there off of providing some value. Like,
it's like people becoming famous from like a reality TV show.
Oh, anyone can do that.
But that's what I'm saying. They become famous, all of a sudden their accounts grow, all of a sudden it's like this inflatedness. And this is nothing against people that have done that. What I'm saying is knowing that if you are insecure about one thing before you are famous, when you become big, it's just going to inflate that. It's going to make it bigger. It's just going to make it, it's like a magnifying glass, just honing in on that. So you want to check in and go, okay, what is it that I value? Because we always want to make sure, is this in alignment with my values? If it's not, there's a gap. If this isn't in alignment with my character, why am I posting it? And check in. Do I want the love? Do I need the acceptance right now? Maybe I don't feel so good right now. I need to put something out and I get some hits. Then I get that dopamine hit.
Yeah, I think like sometimes I do feel like a little bit of pressure. Like I feel like my following follows me because, you know, well, some of them might just be thirsty women. That's always going to happen. But, well, probably less so since I've gotten a girlfriend. But I put pressure on myself to be able to write good content. It's like one of my things that I've had to do for myself is to go and try to break away from that. So sometimes I do write like just things that are flippant to take the pressure off me feeling like, oh, I have to hit it out of the ballpark every time with how great my content is and like wanting them to appreciate and like pandering to what I think other people might like, as opposed to showing more of just who I am. And that's been a process that I've had to experience lately, is to try and break away from this isn't good enough. What you've written here is not good enough for your people. Yeah. Because they're here for the way that you write, and it's like you end up holding yourself to this standard. And I like sometimes I'll go weeks and weeks without, because it's just like I see this stuff and I'm like, not good enough. And then I just don't post at all. And so again, like sometimes it's like wondering what's the intention of why I'm posting it. And sometimes it is not to provide. Maybe it's your own personal thing where it's like, I'm posting this because I'm posting because I like it. And what comes afterwards, I have to break that cycle of being governed by what comes after what I do, as opposed to build my self-worth, as opposed to me simply, there's been times where I've like hovered over posting or something. It's like, you're going to post this right now. So you break the chains. You continue to break the chains of putting your self-worth in what comes after this. And that's been a practice. What's the intention? I'm posting this because I want to, and your self-worth isn't governed by what comes after this. And sometimes I'll intentionally post things where I don't think a whole bunch of people will actually like it. So I can break that.
Yeah. And how do you feel when you don't get the likes that you normally get?
Well,
ooh, that didn't hit.
Well, then you start to get, you break that and you start to realize like your self-worth in yourself starts to grow when you realize and turn your attention to, it's not hitched on the amount of double clicks someone does on a screen, because that's really at the end of the day what it is. Someone going like that, another person going like that. Ooh. My behavior is going to be governed by people going like this.
Yes.
And that to me, as a grown adult man, when you realize that you're behaving and potentially governed by that, you start to go, dude, you start to tap in and go, well, check in with why you're actually posting what you're posting. And it's like a lot of times I do, because I got caught up as like everything I post has to be a value. And it has to, people have to really resonate and value this and everything like that. And it got to a point where I was like, I needed to break that. So I turned to just posting literally shit that I liked, so I could build so I wasn't governed by needing the validation or the like. So the intention of the post was actually for me, for my own reasons, as opposed to got nothing to do with providing value to the value that's coming from me doing this right now is me breaking any potential cycle that there is with that. right? And then going, this is the reason behind why I'm doing this particular one. And again, like sometimes I literally just generally don't feel like posting. It's stuff when you have like a brand and you've got a business that relies on like
if it does,
marketing and stuff like that.
If I have to post, I know I'm not coming from a place of value. I'm coming from a place of force. If I go, I have to post today because I haven't posted, then I'm coming from lack. I'm coming from the thing of like, I need to do that. And every time you're coming from lack, you're not actually allowing anything to flow. Whenever I get an idea, or maybe it's from meditation, or maybe it's with a client, I'm like, oh, that would be good value. Then I'll post it.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's going to give value.
Yeah.
But if I know I'm just doing this because I have to, then I just don't post.
No, so many times it's just not set right. I'm like, I'm going to post that. And it's just like, it just felt like I was trying to force it. And I just was like, nah. And I was fine with that. Right. And then something just like, sometimes lightning strikes you, like, sweet. And you just throw it out without much of a thought. And it's just, I think it's, you just always got to check in about like, what's your intention?
What's my intention? Does this align with my values? Am I doing this for approval or acceptance? Those all valid questions to ask yourself when posting. And if I put this out there, can I accept it and not have to wait? And this is what we do also. Like I'm guilty of this. I'll go and check. How's that going? Are people liking it? What are your ideal times to post? And I think it's smart because if you want to hit your audience, to post at a certain time that your audience is on, but also not always be governed by, what do you guys want to hear all the time? Because then it's a push-pull. It's like, am I always just going for what they want, or is this me? Because then I become slave to it again.
Well, I think that might be a good task for a lot of people, is if you feel like you're bound by that, go and post something that you genuinely just like at a time which you typically don't think is a good time to do it.
And see how you feel about yourself. That'll be interesting.
And just leave your phone and don't worry about what's going on with it. And then the more you do that, the more you start to find yourself just showing up in a way that you're actually just happy with and on point with you, as opposed to appeasing what you think the masses are going to like, right? And again, that's a self-worth thing as well. It's like, I can love myself just as much if I get none as I do if I got 1,000, right?
Well, it's interesting. Another good exercise you guys can do is monitor how you feel about yourself on the day you post versus the days you don't.
Yeah.
So check in and go, okay, how do I feel about myself on the day that I don't have people blowing up my phone or likes? And then monitor how you feel on the days that you don't, because that's a great indication to see where you're at. And obviously you will, because it is a dopamine hit, which I'm going to read out now. Physiology, brain chemistry leaves us craving more likes.
So for reference, that for people who aren't seeing this on video, Emile's going to read some social media stats and
interesting facts
around mental health and social media.
So neuroscientists are studying the effects of social media on the brain and finding that positive interactions such as someone liking your tweet trigger the same kind of chemical reaction that is caused by gambling and recreational drugs. According to an article by Harvard University, researcher Trevor Haynes, when you get a social media notification, your brain sends a chemical messenger called dopamine along a reward pathway, which makes you feel good. Dopamine is associated with food, exercise, love, sex, gambling, and drugs. And now social media. Variable reward schedules up the anti-psychologist. I didn't read the last part. But you get the idea. Basically what happens is it's the same hit that's going to happen whenever you have your favorite food, whenever you have sex, and this is what can be dangerous, is because whenever you're bored, what do? We pick up our phone. We go to get that hit. It's like, shit, I'm not feeling so good. And this is the thing. Another thing, a side effect of social media on the brain is that spending too much time on social media isn't just a bad habit. It can have real consequences. Science shows that we are basically carrying around a little dopamine stimulator in our phone. So it's not surprising that we're constantly distracted by our phones. A TED video explains that social media makes us bad at multitasking and causes phantom vibration syndrome. I've never heard of this actually, which is when you feel like your phone is buzzing even though it's not. Is that my phone? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
No, yeah.
So just like a gambling or substance addiction, social media addiction involves broken reward pathways in our brains. Social media provides immediate rewards in the form of attention from your network for a minimal effort through a quick thumb tap, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Therefore, the brain rewires itself, making you desire likes, retweets, emoji, applause, and so on. According to TED, 5 to 10% of internet users are psychologically addicted and can't control how much time they spend online. Brain scans of social media affects social media addicts are similar to those who drug-dependent brains. There is a clear change in the regions of the brain that control emotions, attention, and decision-making. To make things worse, according to TED, the reward centers in our brains are most active when we're talking about ourselves, which probably evokes a lot of narcissism, hence the selfies. What do I get when I put a selfie up? We'll talk about that in a sec because I want to talk about men's selfies versus women's selfies. So in our active brains, most active when talking about ourselves, in real life, people talk about themselves 30 to 40% of the time. Social media is all about showing off your life. So people talk about themselves a whopping 80% of the time. When a person posts a picture and gets positive social feedback, it stimulates the brain to release dopamine, which again rewards the behavior and perpetuates the social media habit. Damn.
Yeah, and it's just a cycle.
And it goes and it goes and goes. Now,
well, they say they talk about dopamine in there, but like what? Like, okay, cool, you're getting positive, but like I think probably the opposite is probably occurring more often.
Well, there's actually saying that facts that people that use social media less actually seem to be happier because they're not comparing, because they're being more present, because they're not relying on something outside of themselves to constantly feed them that dopamine.
Well, they feel more connected. But again, that also falls back onto, are you using social media or are you being used by it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, and it falls back to your level of intentionality, right? I think I've read something, and I read something a while ago, and I posted up about it, and it was like high school students have the same. It was something like this. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I haven't got the reference with me, so because of that, if you want to take it with a grain of salt, take it with a grain of salt. But children, high school students, have the same level of anxiety as a psychiatric patient in the 1950s. So if you're a psychiatric patient in the 1950s had anxiety, you'd have the same amount as a high school student in this day and age.
How old are they? 13? 13 and up.
Well, yeah.
Well, think about it. I mean, like back in the day, we didn't have, like, I had a phone. It was like an Ericsson or a Nokia. I had Snake.
Snake?
Yeah.
I remember Snake.
Yeah. Snake.
Simpler times.
And even then, that was a new part of having a phone. But imagine before that, like primary school, we never had phones. Really saying how old I am right now. But we didn't have mobile phones, but think about it, like we didn't. Like, and now these days with social media, even like being online and like being part of groups, like how many followers are we having like in high school? Imagine being a high school student and being like, I don't have that many followers. That's going to affect how I'm seen in high school. Shit.
That's scary. I mean, that's a scary thing. Is that high school kids in that age, like they value, like them, one of their highest values is social acceptance. Yeah. And that probably runs for a lot of people up until like you get to about 30. And I think really 30 like is a real tipping point of like not caring as much. Your values really shift around like late 20s. But social esteem, like I remember I was in LA and I was doing a thing that was, it was you go into schools and you sort of be a good example, role model for some of the boys coming through that come up in sort of neglected areas or lower socioeconomic sort of areas and just do exercises with them and things like that, right? And I remember walking in through the school and it was like I regressed back into what it felt like to be back in primary school or high school. And like the kids looking at me and judging me. I sunk. Like I was just like, God, it sunk me right back into this like
state.
Oh, I just felt like I got sucked back there. I'm a grown adult. I've just been dragged back into it. I was like, God, this environment. It's like, are they judging me right now? And even with working with the kids, they were like giving me crap about like my accent and everything. Being I don't know what they're talking about because it's sexy as hell, right? And they're like, just give me crap about it. And I'm starting to like go, I'm not being accepted right now. I was like, but I noticed it. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Like at that time. So, but I do think, and I don't know how much that has to play on, that stat or whatever you want to call it, on social media's part on it. But I dare say that it does play a big part, So.
What about the difference, like when we talk about the differences, like why do men get away with certain things? Why do women get away with certain things? Like it's normal for women to put selfies and like ass pics, right? And
well, to some women, but other women, women are some of the hardest on other women than men would be.
Yeah, not to all women, but then I'm saying like then you see a guy doing a selfie. And I don't really do selfies. I know Ben does.
I do a couple every now and then. I don't mind it. Like if I'm liking how I'm feeling, I feel like I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. Is why is it accepted from women? Because we see it so much more in women, right? But we don't see it with men.
So you think like, well, I think so. Men are condemned more for
sure.
So like, oh, you're up yourself, fully yourself, like the way like. Is that what you're saying? And
yeah,
like
so
men don't like that as well.
And I've known myself to judge other men for doing it, but then I see a woman and I don't think twice. And it's like, what makes that okay? Like what goes, oh, that's fine because that's happening all the time. But then I see a dude and I'm like.
So do you think that gets construed as like a feminine thing or like not so much a feminine thing as much of a thing that women would be doing? And then it makes you less manly. I think that's kind of why I'm all right with it because I'm not kind of threatened by that.
But it's also like, I mean, like sometimes like it's actually accepted, right? Like I'll be looking at a girl on the thing and she's not saying anything and she's like.
It's like, go you like how you're feeling, you're liking the way you look, you're liking the lighting, good on you.
Sometimes I never used to think about it. I was be like, oh, it's normal. And then I was like, wait, what am I
guy
watching?
Did that.
What am I watching right now? If I saw a dude do that, I'd be like, what the fuck is he doing? But that's the judgment of like going, guys should not do that or shouldn't show up like that. Like the difference between men influencers and women influencers, right? And you got the guy influencers that have the six pack, the tats, Australian accent.
I wouldn't term myself an influencer.
No, but I'm just taking a piss. What I'm saying is like the dudes out there that are fully jacked and they're like, like they got hundreds and thousands of followers and it's like, cool. The difference between that and then the women, and it's always like perfect. Everything shows up perfect. And I think this is what we're going to be very mindful of going, what's real and what's not real and what's an illusion. And what's not an illusion, it's like it can look all good on screen, but it's like that doesn't mean that they're necessarily happier.
No, that doesn't. That's just not a correspondence. I think that's where people think.
Yeah, and I think we have to be mindful of that. Like that, that person's getting free things all the time delivered to them. But it's like if I'm posting constantly and it's not even in alignment with what I want, then why would I post about it? It's like, are you a slave to it because you're getting it for free? Now I have to post it. Is this really what I do like? I know my girlfriend gets stuff all the time, sent to her house. And she actually sends it back and says, I don't need this, or she gives it to her friends, So it's an interesting game because it's one of those things where it's like sometimes it's like people just get things because of the influence that they can have on the world.
Yeah.
And then some people are like, well, this person's struggling and can't afford it. So it's not a fair world.
Well, what even is influencing? Like, I don't think getting someone to to click on a 10% off link and buy whatever.
How much does it work? Like, how much does it work? Because there's so much shit out there. There's so many people going, swipe up, or I'm at this restaurant eating this food, like, and then sometimes I do click. Depends on the place. I'm like, oh, where's that? And I want to see where it is, and maybe I save it. Do I buy off it? Not necessarily.
Well, I mean, that, like, influence is a term. Like, to me, it's like influence is I've taken you from this viewpoint to this viewpoint.
Yeah.
That's when I think influence, like actual real influence.
Yeah.
It's I've been able to have you go from thinking this way to now thinking this way, even if you had resistance, not by force, but just actual, true, legitimate ability to go and influence, right? Yeah. So again, this is the thing. It's like, what is influence? And if you have influence, how do you use it? And again, that's like what I look at. It's like, okay, you got a big following, but like, what's your influence? Like, what are you influencing people to do? It doesn't seem like much.
Yeah.
And again, that's my judgment, but not everyone in the world, and this is where, not everyone in the world is meant to be positively influencing people through having depth or having something or whatever, or sharing 100% of everything that they are. And it's like, we want to it's easy to try and hold everyone to the same stance, but really it might just not be. They might be doing that behind the scenes, that they just might not be doing that on social media, and then we judge that. It's like, I don't believe everyone should be,
Well, we put them on a pedestal then.
Well, we can, yeah.
And then when you put someone on a pedestal because they are showing up as perfect, what happens is that there's no room to make mistakes. I was looking at this social media the other day, and this guy who normally posts very positive stuff started sharing his opinion about what's happening in the world with COVID and facts. And then people started writing. I was reading the comments, which I do sometimes because I'm like, ooh, this is great.
Just get your popcorn.
And someone wrote, I used to follow your page for positive stuff, and now you're talking about this, and I don't like this. And he's like, well, leave my page. It's like, I'm not obliged to post based on what your needs are. I'm posting what I feel like. And that's what he said. And I was like, good on him.
I liked you to the extent of which I agreed to your thought points, right?
And I feel good.
But this is the bullshit about society. People throw baby out with the bathwater. It's like, I can love you 90% of the time, and then you do something 10% of the time I don't, and I'm gonna
condemn you.
I'm gonna condemn the shit out of you, right? And I had someone reach out to me the other day, and they said to me, I've followed you, like, and I did something, I thought it was funny, and most people thought it was funny, but some people got triggered, right? Depends on your methodology. My methodology, that was through my humor, right? So they got to see a part of me that they may occasionally might not see as often. Right? I try to share my personality through my Insta stories and whatnot. But this person had never reached out to me, and they started off, and we're good. Like, we had a conversation, and we're sound, right? Because I can have conversations with people and not have it be a shit fight, right? Like, I can be unemotional about, and like, it ended up being sweet, which that's influence. By the end of it, it's like, oh, you're actually, you're a really good guy. I was like, yeah, right? Because I was able to go and talk to him, right? But they said, I followed you for years, for the value and the stuff that you bring. And what I saw today was blah, 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 blah. And the first thing I said to him was like, wait, you followed me for years. You followed me for years. Obviously you've gotten some sort of value, otherwise you wouldn't have stuck around. And never once have you reached out to me to share anything of which I've done that you've liked or has been a positive. But the one thing that over the years that's fucked you off, you felt more than comfortable to condemn me over. And I made a point of mentioning that. And that's what a lot of people do. And it's like, it can't be all challenge and support. You don't want to grow if you don't want challenge and support. Like, my job, like, we have a friendship. I'm not going to throw you out because of 30% of the things that we don't agree upon and forget about the 70%. It's like, but that's so easy to do on social media, and people do it all the time. It's like, you are never going to follow or like anyone have anyone in your life if you expect them to think exactly the same way as you do about everything. And people then, I don't I'm going to let you know that I didn't like that, and then I'm going to unfollow. It's like, okay, jog on. What do you fucking want? Like, carry on with your life. Why did you feel the need to go on, right?
Yeah.
Cool. If you're only here because I have to pander to everything that you believe, stranger who I don't know, I'm going to post anything.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just like, that's the brittle thing about like social media, is like people love pandering. People's like, I don't want to put nose out of joint, which then they don't show their authenticity. That day, people got more of a dose of my authentic self. And if I lost followers, that's a beautiful thing, because I want people to be around that actually
really like your stuff.
Well, but that are there
because
they're there, not just purely that can handle not agreeing with me. Like, if you're not going to have a single human being in your life if you need them. If you are going to be on par with 100% of everything, you will have no one in your life if you think that's the case. And that's like one of my rules of thumb, is that I see a lot of stuff online that I definitely don't agree with. I'm quite opinionated, right? But if it's from someone that I follow, if I show them no love and I show them no appreciation, and when the things that I do agree with that I love about them, I do not express to them. I have no right. This is me. This is my stand. I have no right to jump in. Now think about that. Oh, I want to let them know. Yeah, but how often have you showed them love? Because you're obviously here in their space because you love something about them, and you don't want to do that. And that's again like with people, when people comment on their stuff, you'll see it. People will write all this positive stuff, and then someone gets one negative comment and they give all their attention to that one negative comment, and they show no love back to the people that showed them love. Yeah. Right? It's backwards. And I think about that, and it's like, if I'm being that person where it's like I reply back to all the people that comment on my stuff in positive, right? And depending on their methodology, if someone's disagreed with me, but the way that they conduct themselves is in a healthy manner, I'll engage. But if not, no.
Yeah.
Right.
What about when people unfollow us or unfollow you? Or
are you going out of your way to go and see if that's the case?
I mean, I saw this the other day on Instagram, and it was like, I was just looking at activity because I was like, how many followers do I have in women versus men? And my women, I have 63% women, 30% men, 37% men. And then I saw this many people unfollow you, and I was like, what? I didn't even know that was a feature. I don't know if that's a good feature.
Is it?
Yeah, because you can see how many people unfollowed you.
Oh, yeah.
How many people followed you.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh.
Like the little graph. Like,
yeah, there's like a little thing in social media, in Instagram. But I thought about that because I was thinking we we're going to have this conversation. But I'm also like, well, how funny is it when you see someone where you're like, oh, I just can't deal with that content. It doesn't align with me. I don't want to see it on my wall. And now there's a method where you can mute them, or you do unfollow them. But how offended do we get when people unfollow us and then we see that person in real life and we're like, oh, I unfollowed you. And they know, some people will ask and be like, how come you unfollowed me? Some people are like, fuck it, whatever.
That one doesn't tell you who it was, right?
No.
So there's ones that like obviously tell you
there's apps
who's done it. Yeah, no, yeah. There's apps that show you exactly who's gone on and followed you.
That's a nightmare. If you
want it.
If you want to create anxiety for yourself, go and do that. Go and find an app that shows you all the people that unfollowed you.
If I did that, if I did that every day, because I haven't budged off of, I get new followers all the time, but I haven't budged off the same follower amount. So I'm losing just as many as I'm gaining, right? If I spent all day thinking about who exactly they were, right? Fucking hell.
You literally be like, oh, damn, I'm not doing it right. I need to do something better. Again, you're going to go and put shit out there that's not actually in alignment with
That's going to change the way that I then go about how I go about things.
Will this lose followers? Will this add followers? And that's the danger. So
you're going to get that. No, even if you go and pander to everyone, you're going to get it, because then you're going to get people like me. They're going to like, plays it too safe.
Yeah.
right? There's people that love, like put it this way, and I don't think Jay Shetty's a like bad dude whatsoever, but and he's positive, and a whole bunch of people really love him. But then you get someone like me. It's like I'm like plays it safe. Doesn't want to put, and I don't necessarily value that. It doesn't mean that I don't think the dude's doing a great job in the world or whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
But if he was to think, which he obviously wouldn't because he hasn't got a clue who the fuck I am. But if he sat there going all the time, like I just didn't because I just don't feel like it challenges me enough. But that doesn't mean that I don't think. But then think fond of him, or I think he's terrible.
Then you got the opposite, like someone like Nicole Arbour that would be like
that went after him,
controversial, call out, doesn't care about confrontation, like just goes for it, and that's how she built her social media. I mean, I think we all do it differently based on how we were raised. You know, fight, flight, freeze, or appease. It's like, how do you show up when confrontation happens? You know, it's interesting, huh?
Yeah,
it's just the extension.
I mean, like it could be a whole multitude of things. It's like whatever meaning and whatever story we create around it, right? But that's going to happen whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Even if you think you're in control of it or not. But I personally, for me, want people to follow me if they know that they're not going to agree with me all the time. But they can also look at the character of which I go about things, which is he's going to share what he thinks is useful, even if it might rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I want them to respect me for that character, but I understand at the same time that it's going to ruffle a few feathers. The intention is not to ruffle a few feathers, but it's also not to deprive myself of my character. Because the more that I then do that, the more that I'm self-betraying myself. Like for me, if I didn't put myself on the line by saying some things that were maybe I knew were not going to be understood by everyone, I'd be messing with my own psyche, right? It's like and that's what I ask is like, it's in your character, and again, like the people that know me, like you know me, I'm more concerned about like oh shit, like, but Ben's character is he lives in his truth regardless of whether or not people like it or not.
Well, you're seeing outside or inside. Like that's where the gap should be. There shouldn't be a gap. I mean, I say there shouldn't, but that's the thing we all need to work on.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we work on the gap? And ask yourself, whoever's watching, listening, ask yourself, what is the gap? What is it that I'm trying to portray? What is the need that I'm seeking? What am I seeking right now? Because I think we can all check in and go, how do I show up? Because if you are feeling lonely or depressed, or you're not feeling like connected, there's a reason. The only reason is because you're putting something out there that is not fully in alignment with who you really are.
Or your character is like,
yeah.
And again, the people that know me, they respect me for the fact that I'm willing to have enough self-worth to go and put that out there, even if it annoys a couple of people. And if I stop doing that, then I'm betraying my character. And the people that know me see that I'm catering to people that only know me by reputation.
Yeah, you're definitely way more controversial than me. I think I need to get a bit more controversial, and you need to be a bit more kind.
It's not even controversial. Like, I'm not even trying to be controversial. It's just like, I just know that I have opinions that some people are going to see differently. But again, like, I have so many friends that I follow that think completely differently on so many things. But I don't think they're a shitty person for them.
Yeah.
I have the ability to go, they're a great person. On this one thing, we don't see eye to eye. But that doesn't mean that they're any less of a person, or they're of any value, or I don't respect them just as much. And I view myself in the same way. But if you're going to not have the same way back to me, then okay.
On your bike.
Cool. And again, it's not, I could say a whole bunch of things that are like controversial, but again, it depends on your methodology.
And it depends on your comfort zone of how you view confrontation. Like, because people are going to come back. Are you going to be able to handle it? And I think it's something that we all should speak up about. It's like, okay, we all have a voice. Are we waiting? Is my voice going to be heard? Am I going to be seen as this? Am I going to be seen as awful? Am I going to be seen as negative? So I think we all need to check in.
You're going to get that.
Yeah.
Like, and I say it all the time when we talk, it's like half the people that have met me are going to say I'm one of the greatest people that they've ever met. the other half are going to say I'm a complete arsehole. They're both right. That's just what self-worth is. You're willing to go and do that. And you kind of can become a little bit masochistic in the fact it's like my self-worth builds the more I do things that are more in alignment, but run the risk of other people really not truly understanding. Right?
Yeah.
And that becomes your where you're fed from.
Yeah.
Not the avoiding of it. Right? And again, that falls back onto life experiences and your own personal wounding and where you're trying to get your needs fulfilled and met. And while I say all that stuff, some people are going to have a really hard time doing that. They've lived different experiences than me. My difficulties and challenges are somewhere else. Being concerned with other people's opinions just so happens to not be as much of one. Again, due to where my childhood, my upbringing, all these things, right? So that's why, like, some people I really have a hard time with that. Yeah, but my battles are somewhere else, you know. So while I say that, that's not like, oh, it's grandiose thing. Like, look at me, fucking. Right?
No, I think in the end of the day, everybody wants to be seen, like I said,
100%.
Seen, heard, loved, approved of, accepted. And I think, you know, the more we can improve on our own image behind and accept the parts of ourselves we don't like, the more we're going to actually show up authentically.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So what else have we got that we want to?
I think we hit pretty much a lot. So.
Oh, one thing.
It's already 1:28. I think we've been going for a while.
How to handle our investment pressure. All right. Cool.
Yeah. Wrap it up because we've got to fucking look through back.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Kill. All right. Thanks, guys, for
thanks for checking in. If you're coming in from YouTube or listening to this on the podcast, this is really just a discussion about why social media is shaping the way we look at ourselves, the way we accept ourselves, the way we show up in our day-to-day, and the gap. What is the gap? Am I happy with how I show up in real life? Or am I just pretending to have this life on social media? And we discuss things from relationships, we go into selfies, men versus women, we go into what it feels like to be narcissistic if we post too many selfies. There's so many things we go into in this episode. So make sure you guys check it out.
Yeah, I'm off to go post a selfie as we speak.
In the rice field.
Thanks, guys.